Thank you and welcome to thank you for joining us and welcome to our showcase for our Australia female founders. This 6-week accelerator is a new initiative for 3-day startup to begin to provide more access to entrepreneurship education to underrepresented founders globally. My name is Chandell Stone, and I'm the Vice President of Programs and Entrepreneur in Residence here at 3DS. And I am joined by a lovely cohort, or at least part of our lovely cohort. Some ladies are having some internet troubles, and so we may have to just stream there or show a recording, but hopefully they're able to join us live such that folks in the audience can answer questions. So the format of this event is each founder will have 5 minutes to pitch, and then we will open up the floor for questions. They'll have about 3 to 5 minutes to take questions from the audience. And if there's no more questions, we'll move on to the next founder. So without further ado, we're going to begin our showcase with Esther.
Can everybody see my screen? Can everyone see my screen? Okay, good. So imagine coming home with a cough and within days you can no longer see. Losing my son's vision during lockdown with doctor friends who died from COVID totally transformed my vision. I'm Esther Oh. I founded Agile as a business for good to save, protect, transform lives, and empower frontliners to work smarter, faster, safer, using extended reality and artificial intelligence. The problem of medical errors and delays affects more than 134 million people globally every year, but 80% of the deaths and disabilities are preventable. Healthcare is already inaccessible and unaffordable for many. Yet our escalating crisis of increasing population, pandemics, and disasters are putting hospitals under pressure and lives at risk. By 2030, we face a global shortage of 18 million frontline healthcare workers, with 125,000 short in Australia, not counting specialists. The serviceable obtainable market in Australia alone is worth $808 million if each hospital only uses 50 kits to share among thousands of staff. Did you know that emergency doctors in rural hospitals are often forced to do cesarean, a procedure they are not trained for, risking the mother, baby, and their jobs on the line? When a healthy baby dies from cutting a few centimeters off, the family and medics suffer severe mental health issues, with some even quitting their jobs. Where time is of essence and lives is at risk, this is where our solution comes in. A remote patient presents to a frontliner, a GP, nurse, or paramedic who is unsure what to do. She puts on her smart glasses, calls a gynae who can magnify what she sees, draw on her vision onto the patient to show her exactly where to cut in real time. Remote specialists who are retired, immunocompromised, or interstate can work safely from home without exposing to infections. When there's no human or internet, simply voice command AI assistants to save lives on the spot with minimum learning curve. It's like having Iron Man bionic eyes that speaks and guides you in times of need. Our digital workflows capture and delivers knowledge on demand with machine learning, leveraging remote experts who can log in anytime, anywhere, with military-grade security that we develop with top defense, professors, and clinicians for emergency response. Unlike competitors who use consumer-grade VR or AR glasses for visualization or training only, our solution is customized to be reliable, secure, and fit for purpose, used in operations and emergency rescues, reducing patient cost, travel, error, and risk, while improving frontliner productivity, efficiency, health, and safety with impactful ESG returns from less carbon and paper used. In terms of traction, we're doing trials with Western Australia's largest hospital, not-for-profits, and Indigenous communities. We've won multiple awards for innovation and cybersecurity and are currently in confidential discussion for global collaboration. Our roadmap is clear and aligned and aligning technology, sales and marketing, intellectual property, and finance with appropriate timing for potential exit in 5 to 6 years. Our team has over 250 years combined experience from government, healthcare, finance, and technology. I can't fit everyone in my team here, but those you see here are so deeply impacted by the problem we are solving that we are determined to make a difference in our lifetime. I won several global awards for pioneering the world's first global e-banking, biometric authentication, and predictive analytics that now become mainstream. Our chairman, Anura, a war veteran, chairs the 9th Royal Australian Regiment and is the director of Clontarf Foundation for Indigenous people. My co-founder, Chris, founded R Group International while at uni, servicing governments, aged care, and remote communities with telco and satellite solutions. Robin, who's the head of our digital health, has just joined us, and she's a pioneer of telehealth in the US, and she's ex-Cisco and Microsoft HoloLens Senior Account Director. The timing is now with a purpose-driven, capable team and unique IP that truly revolutionizes the way we see and work, not just in healthcare, but across multiple industries with diversified income streams. Transform your vision today so that together we can transform our world. As an early stage innovation company, the Australian Tax Office provides tax incentives to investors who invest in Agile, which means you get 20% tax offset over 5 years and 100% capital gains tax-free for 10 years. We are also a medical research future fund eligible organization, a status normally granted to universities and medical research centers. So invest to build a legacy for many generations to come. Thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Esther. I'll start it off and as questions come into the chat. Oh, wait, we have a question, and then I will ask mine after. So one question we have is, what influences user adoption rates?
What influences? Well, in terms of user, if you're talking about patients or you're talking about clinicians, because our technology actually has two parts to it. You always have a remote specialist and a clinician who is wearing our glasses. So that's the medicals. And then you also have the patients who are one of the beneficiaries of our technology as well. So in terms of that question, are you referring to the clinicians or are you referring to the patients?
That question was from Chilumba. Could you clarify? Could you give an overview on both?
If she's not clarifying, then I will just answer both. So
yes.
In terms of clinicians, it's really the ease of use, because especially we are doing 3 clinical trials at the hospital. So one is in the COVID operating theaters. One is in the COVID simulation center where they do training. And the third is with the burns department. And, obviously for the skin infectious diseases. So in terms of clinicians, for them, the most important is the ease of use. It has to be lightweight, it has to be fast, and basically plug and play. So this is why our solution stands out from the rest, because we are not heavy. So for instance, to give you and how heavy we're talking about, a Microsoft HoloLens or one of these VR ones that it can only be used for training and nothing else weighs about 566 grams heavy. Ours is 79 grams light, which makes it really easy and comfortable to wear for the 12 hours that these doctors have to do a surgery for. In terms of patients, you're really looking at the convenience, because a lot of these patients, particularly if they live in rural, regional, or remote areas, they will struggle to go into a medical center, and they would need these community nurses to be going out in their community to treat them. So for patients, it's really about convenience. You know, I want my frontliner to come to my community where they have all these like community health check days, and they will be amongst their community, so they don't have to travel. And a lot of the disadvantaged communities who live 500 kilometers away from the nearest GP does not even have the means of the transport to get there. So, you know, by bringing our mobile technology that is on the go, you know, ready to go, whether even there's no internet and no human specialists, the frontliner can still assist the patient. And for the patient, that convenience alone without the need to travel is the most important take-up rate.
Thank you. I actually had a question that sort of is on the vein of your last comment about being able to use in rural communities and that sort of thing. What do you envision to be, actually sort of like a two-part question. One is, how much would it cost for a hospital to like really adopt this, your product in a meaningful way? And then two, along the lines of cost, what would maintenance look like for this product over time?
So we made it really easy. In fact, because we developed the whole solution with the problem first, and we've been working with clinicians from day one. We did a lot of competitor analysis, and we got a lot of feedback from clinicians. So in terms of cost, we're only talking about a subscription model. So the hospital, and they actually thought this is so cheap for them, the hospital will be only paying like $1,000 per month to use the entire kit. So it consists the phone, the data service, the smart glasses, the technology platform, and the technical support as well, which they will select the kind of modules that they need. So for instance, we've got the first module, which is the remote specialist assistance. We've got the second module, which is the standard operating procedures. And then the third module is the AI assistance. So basically they can pick and choose whatever modules to fit their budget and fit their need. So the cost for them, in fact, this is the cost that they were telling us, well, this is so cost effective, because compared to the $400,000, you know, equipment that are heavy and bulky that they use in hospitals right now, which is a video conference that is hanging from the wall where they can't really see the wound. So it will be just like a Zoom call, but they can't look down the throat of the patient because it's hanging from the wall. It's so far away. There's no way they could actually do any meaningful telehealth. In terms of maintenance, because we own everything, so it's on a subscription basis. We just give the whole kit to the clinicians. And basically, we even guarantee there's a 24-hour turnaround. If there's anything wrong with the kit, just give it to us. We'll replace it to them, you know, immediately with a new one. So therefore, there is zero maintenance, zero coding, zero implementation and training. Like anybody who knows how to use a phone and put on glasses can use our technology on the spot.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All
Any
right.
more questions?
We actually have to move on in the interest of time, but thank you so much, Esther. Your contact information is here, and I hope folks get in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Our next founder to present is going to be Beck.
Thank you. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, hi, I'm Beck. I'm a medical doctor, engineer, and the co-founder of Anura Medical. We're a team of 4 who are tackling one of the biggest and most avoidable problems in healthcare: hospital admissions for people with chronic lung disease. COPD, or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, is an incurable and progressive lung disease that affects 13% of the global population. Lung damage makes it difficult to breathe normally, and that becomes significantly worse during a disease flare-up. So much so that people with COPD can end up on a ventilator after catching the common cold. Many people go through this cycle a few times each year and are known as frequent flyers in hospitals, and their disease worsens each time. However, if a flare-up is caught early, it can be treated at home with tablets and inhalers. In fact, at least 20% of COPD admissions are considered preventable. The issue is that the current standards of detecting a flare-up at home are highly subjective, relying on patients to report their symptoms using a survey. At Anura, we want to fix this problem. With help from over 50 clinical advisors, we've come up with a way to do that. Our solution, Calm, is a wearable patch-like device that monitors CO2 during monitors lung function at home during daily living. And it does that by tracking carbon dioxide levels, which is currently a test only available in the hospital. By bringing that standard of care to the home, Calm will detect flare-ups early to enable clinicians to treat early, which will prevent severe illness and keep patients out of hospital. This will prevent at least 20% of hospital admissions for COPD. In the USA, that's over 150,000 people per year who can recover quickly at home. We have initially targeted the Australian market due to familiarity and existing healthcare contacts. And here our obtainable market sits around 490 million. We'll access that by selling Calm units to healthcare providers that already monitor patients with COPD, along with a subscription for data management and insights. Our solution has been designed to integrate with the current workflow of these services to promote adoption, and will provide cost savings through increased efficiency and reduced labor. A similar model can easily be fitted to the American market. And in fact, there is a more clear reimbursement pathway for remote monitoring devices in the US compared with Australia, which is why we're looking for assistance. With our innovative technology, we are the first movers in this space. Our closest competitors are not suitable in the home, as they are prohibitively expensive and not wearable or continuous. We've consulted with patent attorneys who see a path to protect our IP. And Calm is the only technology that offers continuous, non-invasive, and objective monitoring at a suitable cost for the home environment. We have a working proof of concept device and have won 4 industry awards and received $30,000 in seed funding. On top of that, we've secured pathways for testing and have clinical champions through a large public hospital service here in Melbourne. And here's a team behind it. Will is our business visionary with over a decade working in operations and manufacturing, and more recently in business consultancy. Ela brings almost 15 years in data analytics and software design. Phoebe's our other engineer and resident startup aficionado, having worked in 2 successful home monitoring companies. And I am our clinical advisor and tech whiz. For now, COPD is the right place for us to start, and we can see a clear path forward. But we don't have our blinders on. There are many other markets for a device such as this that can monitor CO2, including in ICUs, in sleep apnea diagnosis, and even in the sporting and fitness industry. We're currently looking for support to kickstart our path to market through investment and through introduction to medtech experts in the US. Specifically, we'd love to meet with anyone involved in IP law, FDA regulations, and business setup in the US. Thanks all for your time. I look forward to speaking with you.
Thank you, Beck. Do we have any questions from the audience? I think we do. All right. What are some of the challenges involved with hardware development of your device?
So in terms of the, so at the moment, what we have is a proof of concept, which means that our technology is an innovative way to do what we're trying to achieve. The actual hardware design of that will involve, the main challenges of that will be miniaturization of certain components, but we're not actually using the individual componentry. We're not creating a new components. We're just compiling components in a way that hasn't been done before. So I think the main challenge will just be miniaturizing that and fitting it into a patch-like device.
And our second question from Chilumba is, how can you see rapid user growth?
Rapid user growth, I think, is through continuous customer validation. So we've already been on that path and we've been interacting with people who are going to be our first users. and they're very excited about it. But I guess the main thing is keeping in mind that it needs to work into the current workflow, particularly because we're going into hospitals, and healthcare workers are notoriously bad at adopting new technology. So it needs to be basically designed in such a way that it makes it very easy for people to use and they can really see the benefit in using it.
On that, oh, wait, we have another question from Trevor. How long do you expect it to take to reach FDA phase 1? And in addition, do you envision going public on like the OTC to raise additional money?
So you'll have to let me know what the OTC is, because I think that may be an American thing.
I actually don't know what the OTC is either. Trevor, can you tell us what the OTC is? Let's start with the first question while we wait for Trevor.
Yeah, sure.
How long do you take to reach FDA approval?
So, Trevor, one of the main reasons that we wanted to present at this summit was because we're very much in the Australian regulation space, and that's where our knowledge is based. And we need a lot of help to get to look into the American market. So I know that there's the 510K pathway that allows you to piggyback off other similar devices, and we foresee that we could use that pathway just based on preliminary discussions with some regulations people in the US. So I imagine that it would, but we still have to do clinical trials essentially. So I imagine that it's at least 4 years away.
Is there a specific, okay, we have an answer on the OTC. He says markets here for small caps, just American market for companies generally under 1 billion in market cap. So do you see yourself going public there?
I'm not sure I entirely understand that question. I'm sorry.
Well, we'll let Trevor email you and
yeah, sure.
So one more question before we have to move to the next founder. When you think about who your product will serve, do you imagine that there are some, like, what do you see as like the barriers to access potentially for your product, and how do you plan to circumvent that?
So I think this population, the COPD population, they're typically known as a non-compliant bunch of people, and they're also in an older demographic. And so we have to consider how they might interact with the device in terms of technological requirements. And so we've kind of thought about all of that, and we've tried to create our idea for the design will be essentially, because it's a patch that's continuously wearable, it works into the current workflow of the outpatient hospital services who do home visits for these patients. So they would be the ones interacting with the device, and they'd change it every week. And so we've tried to navigate the compliance issues and the demographic issues by basically making something that they won't have to deal with at all, and they just have to wear continuously.
Thank you. With that, I think we'll move on to our next founder. Thank you so much, Beck.
Thanks.
Right on time. Okay, our next founder is Louise.
Perfect. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. OLMA the label is inspiring plus size women to feel confident and express themselves freely. Hi, I'm Louise. I'm the founder of OLMA the label, and I'm a size 18 woman. I'm extremely passionate about fashion and representation in the fashion space, and I have been since I was a kid, especially as I didn't see bodies that look like my own represented. I have experience leading high-performing teams in fast-paced environments and engaging them towards working towards a common goal. I also am able to juggle the multiple responsibilities that is often found in fashion, such as design, logistics, and marketing. To the problem, women above a size 14 often struggle to find fashionable clothing that fits well. In fact, 44 million women share this problem worldwide. Left unsolved, plus-size women may continue to be marginalized and disempowered, potentially leading to devastating impacts on self-esteem and confidence, whilst also neglecting a $178 billion market. 100 women that we interviewed said lack of size inclusivity was a problem. Also, 100% of the women that we interviewed said that current clothing sizing was a problem. So the solution. Enter OLMA the label, created by women for women, offering premium quality clothing, an inclusive size guide, and a community group. 100% of the women that we interviewed said they would purchase clothing offered in a bigger range of sizes with quality fabrics and materials, whilst also 80% of the women that we interviewed said they would purchase more if their shipments arrived faster. So our market size. The total addressable market is about $178 billion, so that's the global plus-size women's wear market. And the serviceable addressable market is about 36 billion, which is a cumulative total of the regions that we think we'd be able to leverage, so the US, the UK, and Australia. And our obtainable market is about 18 million, which we've calculated based on our 5-year projections following a typical 4-season fashion release model. And the forecasted growth rate is about 1.8% globally in the plus size market. So our business model, so e-commerce will be our primary distribution channel and direct to the consumer. And then we'll also have our community membership model, which will have monthly or annual fees, and that will comprise of monthly events and a dedicated communication channel for them, and also exclusive offers. And then our retail pathway will be our expansion model, which will test with pop-up stores for viability first, and then moving towards our flagship model, our flagship store. Our revenue streams will be product sales and community memberships, which together combined, we projected at 3.5 million in annual revenue. So a look at our competitive landscape and OLMA's point of difference. We have an inclusive size range offering sizes 14 to 28 at the moment, premium quality clothing, our community membership, and free express shipping, both domestically within Australia and internationally. So we'll look at our roadmap. So we began with our customer discovery and validation process, doing one-on-one customer interviews and customer discovery workshops, which are ongoing. And we moved into building our brand awareness through our social media channels and building our community, which will segue into our community membership model. And then we've created some clothing designs, which we're about to begin commencing the sampling process, which we will test with our customers and move towards our bulk production, which will then market and then work towards our launch in September. And part of our strategy is with influencers and artists in the space aligned with our brand. This is a look at one of our customer discovery workshops. It's a 10-part series. And here we were doing some problem brainstorming and really honing in on the problem. We'll also continue with our one-on-one customer interviews. And we're aiming to have a contact list of 100 customers just from these workshops, and also aiming to have an email database of at least 1,000 customers pre-launch, which we're actively working towards. So our ask. We're looking for investors who have knowledge and connections in the fashion and entertainment industry, with artists such as Lizzo, who have demonstrated a strong interest in changing the narrative surrounding plus-size women. For example, with her show, Watch Out for the Big Girls. We're also asking for 150,000 in return for offering 10% equity. And like Alexandra Waldman of Universal Standard once said, the industry has been suffering because the prejudice against bigger bodies is so calcified that fashion companies have been leaving money on the table. Don't leave money on the table. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Louise. We're going to open up the floor for questions. All right, Chalumba asks, what challenges do you think you'll face as you scale your brand?
Oh, that's a good question. So I think definitely each market is different. And I think, first of all, it's growing the team as well, and brand awareness too, and really getting people to believe in the OLMA story, because I think, you know, retail is quite a large industry and it is quite populated. But I think OLMA's main point of difference as well is our reasoning and our why. I think getting people to really believe into that and buy into that as well as we scale. Logistics as well is a factor too. But yeah, the different markets I'm performing as well and growing the team too as we scale.
Could you talk a little bit more about the community membership model, how you plan to monetize that, and what customers would actually gain from that?
Yeah, so with our community model, we've had feedback from some of the customers that have been participating in our workshops, for example, and they really love the idea of coming together and discussing some of their common pain points in fashion and body image. And one of the themes that really came out was the psychology aspect of it, so the self-esteem and confidence impact. And having women together and gathering in a room, it's just really empowering. So we really want to hone in on that and have like monthly events as well, whether there'll be like seminars or webinars or having guest speakers sometimes come in and having everyone participate in that. So that would be something we offer. And then having like, for example, a Slack network where they can all interact with each other too. So that would be like a monthly membership fee as well, so, or an annual fee. And also with the exclusive offers, so that'll be things like promo codes that they exclusively get access to, prior access to launches, and also like shipping, maybe not having a cut-off price for the shipping, they get access to that. So those kinds of exclusive perks.
And what do you envision the cost of something like that would be?
So at the moment, we're looking at about $50 a month for that model, which will fine tune.
Okay. Lastly, could you talk a little bit more about price point for your clothing?
Yep. So we've projected everything. So with the quality fabrics and everything, so at the moment we're looking at about $250 per piece, and we've also, based on our customer research and discovery process as well, we know that a lot of customers have said that when they are happy to pay a bit more for quality, but also with options such as like Afterpay being offered, that they usually spend more with those kind of options. But at the moment, we're looking at about $250 per garment.
About what per garment?
$250.
Okay. So, do we have any other questions from the audience? All right, Louise's contact information is there. Please get in touch. Thank you. All right, Olivia, I believe you are next.
Alrighty. Okay, can you all see my screen? Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, sorry, I couldn't hear anything. Thank you. Hi there, everyone. My name is Olivia Zeckovic, and I'm the CEO and a co-founder at Blynk. We are an early stage hiring SaaS platform where we strive to make hiring easier, more effective, and reduce the bias involved in the typical hiring process. So bias is rampant within the hiring process, whether we recognize that or not. So it's very common whether we are applying for a job, perhaps we might be involved or working in a big organization, or maybe we have a business of our own. At some point or another, hiring will affect us and make an impact on our lives. So I actually have an interesting story myself, and it was the original problem which inspired me to start Blynk. So I have a very long foreign surname, and it also starts with the letter Z. So I was used to being put at the bottom of the list based on alphabetical order, and then also having my name brought up in interviews, whether that be for a scholarship application or hiring or going for a job interview. As I spoke to my peers at university, I recognized this was way bigger than just me. Many individuals were running into similar problems, and it's made worse when there's inconsistent questioning going on within the hiring process. Short or incomplete shortlists of candidates are being reviewed. And also, sorry, I'm just trying to move that tab. And also just the general process itself is quite clunky. So individuals with ethnic surnames have to apply on average for 60 to 90% more jobs to get the same kind of offer as their white counterparts. And women are 30% less likely to make it to an interview stage than men with the exact same skill sets. So it really begs the question of when you've got so many candidates applying for a job. So here an average job typically will receive over 100 job applicants. Only 20% make it to interview. So how do you decide who those 20% are, and how do you ensure it's fair and effective? Now, the hiring process itself is really complex. There's all of these different steps, from creating your first job ad and putting it out there, sharing it to the right audience, compiling all the data, the resumes, the bits and pieces, reviewing the candidates, all the way down to managing the candidates once the right one has been selected. And there's a wide variety of industries involved with this process. So typically it requires multiple software to make the process easy, whether that be from a form builder or recruitment sector, all the way down to customer relationship management for ongoing management and data storage. That's why we decided to create Blynk. We wanted to ensure that the things that actually matter with the hiring process are brought to the attention of employers first. A lot of the employers we spoke to, even, one comes to mind when we were first going on our customer discovery journey, where it became clear that employers weren't even able to review all of the candidates applying for a role because there were just too many to get through. So we want our employers to be able to focus on what matters most, and we'll take care of the rest. So basically focusing on who the most suitable candidates are, getting a really good understanding of who they are in a comprehensive sense, and moving through to the interview process in a fair manner. So we built Blynk with versatile end-to-end features in mind. So ways that we can identify the right skill sets and attributes that are important for a role, so every candidate can put their best foot forward. And basically we can cut through all of the stuff that isn't necessarily important for a role or shouldn't negatively impact someone progressing to an interview stage, like gender, age, whatever it may be. So really honing in on the skills, attributes, and enriching the data around the candidate. A lot of candidates don't often get the chance to demonstrate their skills and attributes. There's also a really big market opportunity, we believe, for Blynk software to be used beyond just the hiring space. So as I mentioned before, scholarship applications, even the venture capital space, all of these involve applicants applying for certain opportunities, and reviewing these candidates can be extremely complex. We would love to be an end-to-end service for all of these different types of processes that's affordable and versatile, and that's our big goal long term. Now, some exciting data. We have been growing quite rapidly over the past 6 weeks. We were going through some different testing, so testing in different niches like real estate, the startup space, and retail and hospitality. And retail and hospitality took off. And we've had about 180 new users signing up, both employers and job applicants, and using Blynk in that time. A lot of our users are reporting that they're receiving more applications than they have in the past, and that these applications and applicants are enthusiastic, they're local, and they're eager to get going right away. Our software we've also been getting some feedback on our software and implementing the changes. We're getting, positive feedback that it's easy to use and run through from start to finish. Our model at the moment, we have a free trial, so that goes for 10 days, and then individuals move over to a paid subscription to keep their ad up for the remaining 30 days. And in future, we're going to have an ongoing subscription model to maintain data and also pay per form basis. So a little bit more about our team. I founded Blynk alongside my brother Steve, who's in the middle there. He had a similar pain point to me, obviously, with our surname and some of the things that we encountered. And we've got Narain there as well, who has been our friend for over 10 years. All of us have different skill sets. I'm a science and psychology whiz. Steve is in finance, and Narain is our tech developer. Now, a little bit about our ask. I would love to meet with anyone interested in the hiring space, whether that be you're hiring yourself or maybe you know someone who is. We would love to be able to help out with the hiring process and see what your thoughts are on our product. We've also applied for Y Combinator for their summer 22 intake. So if you know anyone within the community, we'd love to meet them. We're also halfway through our first investment round and we're looking to close soon. So yeah, we're seeking 150,000 Australian dollars to help close our round. So yeah, looking forward to hearing from you. And if you've got any questions, I'll let Chandell take it. I think you're on mute. Ooh,
I am on mute.
Sorry.
With a large number of employees leaving the workforce based on misalignment of values, what will Blynk do to maintain the value system between employees and employers?
Yeah, I think a lot of employees have been leaving the workforce because they don't feel valued. And I think really what we're doing is we're that first step for individuals wanting to enter the workforce or look for new opportunities from an applicant perspective. In terms of basically the really important thing that we're trying to offer job applicants is an easy process for applying for jobs. So even from the perspective of having to log into clunky software and upload your resume for the 50th time and go through that really monotonous, drudgerous process, we're trying to strip that all right back so that it's a really easy way to go and seek a new job opportunity and apply for it. And from the employer's perspective, we really want to highlight who the most suitable candidates might be so that you've got less of a churn rate with your staff members. Because yeah, as I mentioned earlier, some employers don't even get to review all of their candidates. They never really understand who their most suitable candidate might be. And this can lead to hiring the wrong staff.
Thank you. So on first brush at your company, it seems that your focus is about sort of like standardizing the process in order to reduce bias. But how does Blynk contemplate intentional, how can Blynk support companies who want to be intentional about diversifying their workforce and sort of being conscious of some of those differences that you named?
Really, really great question. That is something it's in our pipeline. We do want to focus a lot on consulting industry experts who do work on diversifying certain groups and particularly within like the workforce. So there's a lot development wise that we would have to implement to be able to say, if you wanted to intentionally increase the number of women in your company or a different minority group, there are different tools that would be required. So number one would be consulting with industry experts. That is definitely something we want to be able to do more of as we scale. In terms of intention, we know that in order to increase the population of a minority group for a type of role, or I know a really great example is actually medical schools here in Australia had an imbalance between male and female medical students. And in order to achieve that fair balance where you had a 50-50 cohort, was you have to actually make that intentional effort to increase the pool of women in this case for a number of years before it was an organic maintaining. It's hard to articulate. I hope that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we'd love to be able to guide employers on how they can do that in the future.
You also shared how much the sort of products that companies are using currently cost. how does, you mentioned that Blynk was low cost. Could you elaborate more on sort of the costs associated with using Blynk?
Yeah, definitely. So there's two main tools people use to hire at the moment, or organizations use to hire, both big and small organizations. One is the traditional job seeking website. Those ads in Australia, we've got seek.com, LinkedIn. Those ads can be hundreds of dollars to put out there. It's really expensive. And then you've also got, that's what a lot of retailers in this sense use. You've also got specific recruitment tools, which are basically like applicant tracking systems, and they can be thousands of dollars. A lot of the actual recruitment specific tools, which put out there on, they put their ads out there on a wide variety of platforms, typically take a percentage of a salary of the employee. So quite similar to having an actual recruiter go out and find them for you. So ours, in comparison to the two groups there, we are a platform. So we host job listings, and we also kind of vet them out, vet your candidates for you automatically. We're looking at a price point of $100. We have been obviously chatting to our users and potential customers for a long period of time to kind of find that sweet spot where it's a no-brainer to use Blynk. Yeah, hope that answers your question.
Thank you. All right, I think we'll move on to our next founder, Edwina.
Thank you. I'll just share my screen. Translate my scene. Here we go. We'll get there. Okay. Let's put you over there. Couple of tech issues today, but we'll get there. Okay. We're facing a mental health crisis that has a huge cost on society. It affects people's health, relationships, and performance. And 1 in 5 adults in the US have a mental health issue, with over 2/3 of those with mental health issues not getting treatment. Many people don't realize there's a problem, and others just don't do anything about it. I'm Edwina Griffin, founder of AtOne, and I'm one of those people. Despite the fitness and wellness industry, I found myself collapsed in an ambulance, taken away from workplace stress. And it took me 6 months to recover to be able to then function in any workplace again. Psychological safety is a priority for organizations, and that's what we're targeting. Mental health and psychological safety in organizations. Meditation is a proven methodology to help people reduce symptoms of stress, perform their best, and improve their overall mind fitness. The problem is many people find meditation quite difficult to do and sometimes a bit boring. It's hard to get into that deep space where you actually can feel the benefits. That's where AtOne comes in. AtOne supercharges people's ability to meditate using virtual reality technology to immerse people into a deep state of relaxation. AtOne uses sight, sound, and smell with focus points and sacred geometry, real and virtual locations for a full immersive experience. The global mental health market was $383 billion in 2020, and the Australian mental health market $11 billion in 2020. We're targeting on the meditation and wellness market in Australia, and then planning on expanding into the US next year. AtOne's point of difference in the market is that we are B2B, which there are some more meditation apps now doing that. However, our group reporting is quite unique, as is the biofeedback reporting and tracking those 5 areas of mind fitness, including heart rate and heart rate variability. We also offer online training and weekly reports. The Mind Fitness report is in these 5 areas of mind fitness. As I just mentioned, we're measuring heart rate, we're measuring focus, which is body movements, eye tracking, clarity, engagement, emotional function are based on user responses. Our offering is an annual subscription model, so ranging from $600 a month to $5,000 a month. So that's based on sort of 100 employees to sort of 5,000 for using as little as 2 headsets in one location. This is a copy of the group and individual reports that people receive. So it provides insights for employers to understand the mind fitness of their employees, to then direct training or understand where there needs to be more focus. The online training includes areas, 5-10 minutes of training to help with the areas of mind fitness to help improve the results. We launched last year and we've had several pilots in various fields. Initially, we were focusing on corporate. So COVID had an impact. So we've gone more into organisations now, and we're getting more traction now, focusing in organisations such as jails and hospitals. We've also secured our first customers. We've received government grants, a couple of government grants, and we've had funding of over $300,000 to date. Our team my background is 25 years in health, fitness and wellness, and I've been teaching meditation for over 20 years. I'm also on the U.S Australia Accelerator board, so I have several contacts in this area of wellness and health and a reputation. Our developers have over 10 years experience in virtual reality and product design. And we also have a team of advisors specialising in marketing, US expansion, business innovation and data analytics. Our ask is to have 350,000, sorry, I can't speak today, apologies, 750,000, 350 is what we spent. And we're going to be putting that funding towards tech development using machine learning and AI, increasing our sales team, and we're also wanting to launch into the US next year. We'd also love any introductions to organisations that have a priority for mental health. Thank you.
Thank you, Edwina. Okay, we have a question. EAP is perceived negatively in Australia. How will you manage the challenges involved with the perception of mental health in the corporate sector?
Thanks, Chilimba. I love that question because I often speak about the EAP low uptake. And that's actually one of our selling points in that, thankfully, VR is kind of new and it's cool. So the feedback we've had from customers and the trials we've done is that employees actually, because it's new and it's fun, it's seen as fun. So it's actually creating a bit of a buzz around the office because it's a new technology, because VR's, the meta world's helped us as well, I think. And it's also enabled the opportunity to have that conversation because it's kind of like, it doesn't have to be around mental health. It's kind of about trying the tech. It's like, oh, have you tried the virtual reality? Have you tried the being at this beach location or at that mountain location? And so it opens that door to normalizing, I guess, meditation and doing stress management approaches like this versus, oh, I must have a mental health issue if I'm going to go and meditate. So it does sort of bring in a different angle. It also gives the opportunity for employers to start with that angle and then open the conversation a little wider into mental health, which is what we need to be doing.
Thank you. My next question would be around implementation. It's sort of on the vein of the question posed by Chilimba. How do you expect companies to, what does onboarding look like for this? Like I saw this piece of your video showed a woman like sitting at her desk using these VR goggles. Is that sort of the vision? How do you talk to HR or whomever is in charge of this sort of thing about rolling it out?
Yeah, thanks. Onboarding we had some great lessons last year with onboarding, and what we did find was it was really important to have a workshop for onboarding and to get leaders in the organization to really drive it. Otherwise, what we found was the headsets would sit there. So part of it is we have webinars, we have a launch webinar or a launch live workshop, depending on the organization, to get everyone on board to provide the why. And then we get sort of champions to be kind of running it and getting some competitions going in amongst the teams. And I think the future of doing leaderboards will help with that. In terms of the way it works, most of the organizations, I guess we were kind of in like, AWS, quite big organizations in our trials. they had wellness rooms. So that's certainly one of the options, is you have a couple on the wellness rooms on each floor. Some of the other companies wanted them on the floor, just on the desks, to kind of normalize it again. So it's kind of like, just go grab it. You don't have to go to the wellness room. You just grab it at any point you want to break. And I think there's opportunity for that in terms of, say, for tech developers or for people using machinery, to actually really encourage them to just take a break all the time. So it's not having to go and make it too structured. Because it's really about also that reduced risk of injury, whether psychological or physical. We're trying to create, I guess, a habit in organizations.
And then in terms of your current content that you have for AtOne, like how many like sessions are already loaded?
Sure.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. There's 5 categories. So there's 40 meditations at the moment, and we're currently actually developing different channels of different content. So the categories initially now around relaxation, empathy, professional resilience, managing cravings, health. So that's kind of like the basis. And then we're also doing other categories of breath work and speaking in organizations like defense or jails, and understanding what their needs are to give specific. And that's what we can do as well, is bespoke kind of content for different organizations. The actual music content, there's about 40 different tracks as well that are an option. And in terms of the visuals, there's a 23, 4, I think, at the moment in terms of different visual.
And what would be the ideal use case? How often would you or a company to be implementing this to Fidelity? How often will their employees be using your product?
The recommendation, we're targeting people who probably may not be normally meditating. So the meditations are 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and 10 minutes. So with that in mind, the intention is every day. We're trying to, again, get that habit, so at least once a day. And ideally, it'd be great if they could be doing it more. But I think in terms of results and science around meditation, it's sort of 3 times a week is the minimum. But we're certainly driving for 5 days a week while in the office, and then creating that habit at home as well.
Great.
Thank you. Thanks for the questions.
All right, so we have one more pitch that I was going to share screen because they pre-recorded it, but it looks like we've ran out of time. So, but when it's sent out, these recordings will be sent out to our guests, as well as folks who weren't able to make it. And so we'll be sure to patch her session in or patch her pitch in.
What if an all-knowing machine told you the meaning of life was 42, but you didn't have any way to understand how it arrived at that? Well, then you wouldn't know the meaning of life, even though it was right there in front of you. The challenge for artificial intelligence is that until more people can more easily reach inside the black box, the industry is stuck. That is why we built Decoded AI, a new way of reaching inside the black box of AI, so that businesses can understand the answers that these machines give us. We are a SaaS solution with a simple interface for teams of different backgrounds to ask questions about the AI that they're relying on. Legal teams can discover compliance, risk teams can apply policy controls, engineers can build more powerful algorithms. Everything moves from a bedrock of understanding, driven by meaningful answers to genuine questions. As a data scientist, I spent a lot of time exploring data and building cool models. But I kept getting dragged into meetings or getting emails from people asking for information that it was too hard to get to them, or I just didn't know. As a cyber person, I spent a lot of time trying to talk to the data team to get them to uplift their security, but they take so long to answer my questions, so I can't let them deploy their work. As a finance person, all I wanted to do is help the data team to get their costs down so that they can build more things. But I can't understand their work enough to help them. Everyone needs something different from AI, and until we can decouple the data scientist from the explanation, the industry will be stuck. What the industry needs is explainable AI. This is explainable AI today. If I told you the meaning of life was 42 and you asked me why, and I said, I got there by thinking about trees and trains. Then you wouldn't walk away with the information that you needed. That's the state of the art right now. The solutions are entirely targeted at data scientists who already know the algorithm. They're being dragged kicking and screaming to these products because they don't really need explainability, but the rest of us do. Decoded AI is radically different. Where others focus on expert metrics and rely on data scientists to author reports and presentations for other business units. Decoded exposes a simple search interface built for everyone else. Ask a question in your own way and we will help you to get the information that you need. It is about moving more people through to understanding so that they can integrate AI into their lives to help them do more things. This industry is huge and we expect to see huge growth. Our target market are well-resourced enterprises in industries like defense, critical infrastructure, finance, and medtech. Right now, they are feeling the pain of building trusted AI without any tools to support them in explaining their models to all the different stakeholders that they need to satisfy. Their data teams are small, elite, and the entire organization is feeling the pain of needing to get more eyes on the data work. For them, 85% of AI projects are still failing, and it's not a technical or engineering problem. So how will we make money off our innovation? Decoded AI is a SaaS solution, so we charge on a subscription model. Our target customers have told us that they are willing to pay upwards of $5,000 USD per month under an add-on sale model. Our go-to-market is focused on two things. One, market education to help teams ask better questions to their data teams. And two, a brand that is welcoming, that has deep technical substance. Right now, we are working on a marketing campaign that uses our service to enable people to start asking harder questions from big AI projects that have made headlines. We are matching this with a top-down enterprise sales strategy that meets our bottom-up campaign in the middle. At Decoded AI, we believe that diversity is the engine of creativity. By pulling together many varying and different perspectives, we can find new insights that pierce through problems towards exciting and innovative solutions. I, as CEO and co-founder, have a background in linguistics and computer science, and my co-founder a background in law and secure AI. We are supported by many different people and organizations who are passionate about the field of AI and innovation. Thank you for listening to my pitch about my company. My ask is, can you connect me to someone working in artificial intelligence? My email is on the screen, so feel free to send me an email. Thank you. What if an